All right, the court will conclude then with my own review of the matter and then pronounce sentence. Ms. Vallow, based on the jury's verdict of guilty in this case, it is the judgment of this court that you're guilty of the following counts of the amended indictment. Count 1, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Tyler Ryan and grand theft by deception. Count 2, first-degree murder of Tyler Ryan. Count 3, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Joshua Jackson Vallow and grand theft by deception. Count 4, first-degree murder of Joshua Jackson Vallow. Count 5, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Tammy Daybell. And count 7, grand theft.
Have you ever wondered how far someone might go to fulfill what they believe is a higher calling? Today, we dive into a story that sounds like it's ripped straight from a thriller novel. It's a tale of love, religion, doomsday prophecies, and the unimaginable act of murder. The key players in this unsettling narrative, VALLOW Daybell and Chad Daybell, are two people linked by shared beliefs and a connection that led to a series of tragic events. Lori and Chad weren't your ordinary couple. Lori was a mother of 3 with a turbulent history of relationships.
Wonderful husband Joseph at home, who is watching our 2 beautiful children, Colby, who's 7, and Tylee, who is 1.
Yeah, what do you guys like to do for fun?
We like to play all kinds of sports on our 3 acres.
Okay, sounds like you have a nice life there.
We do.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Chad, a writer of doomsday-themed novels, had his own thoughts about the end of the world.
What I see is from Brigham City to Santaquin, it's like a special plate of land that will never be destroyed.
Together, they ventured down a path that would shock the world. So who were these people? What were their beliefs, and how did those beliefs lead them to the choices they made? Let's start by looking at Lori's background.
She is Mrs. Hayes County. Her husband's name is Joseph. They've been married for 3.5 years, and they have 2 children.
VALLOW Daybell's background. Lori was no stranger to love and loss. 5 times she had stood at the altar, each time pledging her heart to a different man. But it was her connection to Chad Daybell, a man of equally strong and unusual beliefs, that would bring their story to the forefront of national attention.
Days after an Idaho jury convicted Lori Vallow of murdering her 2 children and conspiring to kill her husband's first wife, Fox 10 has learned that she's facing even more charges here in Arizona.
A Maricopa County grand jury has indicted her for conspiring to kill her niece's former husband.
Lori's spiritual journey was as complex as her romantic life. From an early age, she was drawn to religion, finding solace and purpose in her faith. But as the years wore on, her beliefs began to evolve, taking a turn towards the extraordinary. She claimed to receive spiritual revelations, visions that guided her life's path. She spoke of being chosen to gather and prepare those who would survive the end of the world, a prophecy detailed in the Book of Revelations. Her life was a tapestry of spiritual exploration, weaving together threads of prophecy, divine calling, and a belief in the supernatural. Lori's fascination with the end times was not an isolated obsession. It was part of a growing community that believed in preparing for the second coming of Christ. Enter Chad Daybell, a man who had penned several novels centered around doomsday themes. His writings resonated with Lori, and their shared beliefs became the foundation of a deep and intense connection. But this was not a love story destined for a fairy tale ending. Their shared passion for apocalyptic prophecies would prove to be more than a simple quirk or eccentricity. It was a belief system that would drive them to actions that were both inexplicable and horrifying. Their faith, once a source of strength and guidance, would become the catalyst for a series of events that would leave families shattered, communities in shock, and a nation grappling with questions about the very nature of belief and devotion. As we delve deeper into their story, we will uncover the secrets, the manipulation, and the dark side of a love fueled by an unshakable conviction in a world-ending prophecy. Chad Daybell's background. The tapestry of belief and love that connected Lori and Chad was not woven overnight. For Chad Daybell, it was a journey that had begun years earlier, long before Lori ever entered his life. Chad was not just a believer in the end times, he was a chronicler of them. His pen had brought forth a series of novels, each one painting a vivid picture of doomsday scenarios and the struggles of those chosen to survive. These were not mere works of fiction to Chad. They were manifestations of a belief system that had taken root deep within him. But Chad's writings were not his only contribution to the world of apocalyptic beliefs. He became involved with an entity known as Preparing a People, an organization dedicated to readying the faithful for the second coming of Jesus Christ.
Do the Macarena or whatever you want to do. Well, I was thinking, a lot of you probably have relatives or friends who are questioning why would they go to a preparedness conference. There's absolutely no reason to go. Anyway, I was thinking that you probably will want to have a message prepared for when you get back to your ward tomorrow or something, when they say, well, what did you hear? What did they tell you? And so I'm going to give a statement that you can share with them. Okay?
It was a mission that resonated with his own convictions and one that would draw him into a community of like-minded believers. Among those drawn to Chad's writings and teachings was Lori VALLOW Daybell. Their relationship was not just a meeting of hearts, but of minds and souls. They saw in each other a reflection of their deepest beliefs, a shared vision of a world on the brink of cataclysm. Together, they explored the spiritual terrain of prophecy and revelation. Lori found in Chad a partner who understood her visions and shared her sense of divine purpose. Chad saw in Lori a fellow traveler on a spiritual journey towards a destined future. Their relationship blossomed into something more than just a shared belief system. They became partners not only in love, but in a mission they believed was guided by a higher power. Their union was a fusion of faith, conviction, and a determination to fulfill what they saw as their divine calling. But this union was not without its shadows. As their relationship deepened, so did the complexity of their beliefs, and the lines between faith and fanaticism began to blur. Their shared vision, once a source of inspiration and hope, would soon take a dark and troubling turn. The very beliefs that had brought them together would lead them down a path from which there would be no return. Tylee Ryan and J.J. VALLOW disappearance. The lives of two innocent children, Tylee Ryan, nearly 17, and her little brother, J.J. VALLOW, 7, were cut tragically short, leaving behind a tale of terror and sorrow. They were last seen alive in September 2019. Rumors, suspicions, and whispers filled the community, but it wasn't until June 2020 that the horrifying truth was uncovered. The remains of Tylee and JJ were found buried on Chad Daybell's Idaho property. Shockwaves of disbelief and grief swept the community as the realization set in that these beloved children were no more. The grim discovery brought forth a barrage of questions and exposed the dark underbelly of the VALLOW Daybell family. A DNA analyst later testified that a hair found stuck to duct tape wrapped around JG's body matched his mother.
New revelations in the Lori VALLOW murder trial.
Yeah, a DNA analyst, one of nearly 50 witnesses called to the stand so far in this case, testifying about hair found on a piece of duct tape at the crime scene.
Friends spoke of Lori's disturbing beliefs that evil spirits had turned her children into zombies, and that the only way to get rid of the evil spirit was to kill the body. A tale of twisted faith and inhumanity emerged, turning a mother's love into a nightmarish horror.
Well, because not JJ, definitely, because JJ wasn't deemed a zombie until, September, right? So they would definitely not have done it about JJ.
Tammy Daybell's death. Tammy Daybell's death was initially a tragic loss in October 2019. The authorities first deemed it to be of natural causes. But when her body was exhumed for further examination, an autopsy revealed the cause of death to be asphyxiation.
You can inflict bruises on an individual who has recently died if you strike them, drop them, any number of other things. But once circulation stops, you tend to not have a lot of accumulation of hemorrhage within the tissue, simply because there's no circulation.
Questions began to arise about the circumstances of her death and its connection to the disappearances of Lori's children. The fact that Chad had increased the amount of coverage in a life insurance policy for Tammy just a little more than a month before her death added fuel to the fire of suspicion. Her death became a sinister puzzle piece in a horrifying jigsaw that was beginning to reveal a picture of betrayal, greed, and cold-blooded murder. Charles VALLOW's death. A story of Charles VALLOW's death in July 2019 was a complex and disturbing one. He was shot and killed in Arizona by Lori's brother, Alexander Cox. Initially, it was portrayed as self-defense after Charles had allegedly hit Alexander with a baseball bat.
And then I got between them. And then Tylee came out with her bat. And I had separated for a minute. And then my sister walked around me there in the living room. And then Charles was following Lori and yelling. And Tylee told him to get back. She took her bat like that and shoved him and took the bat away. And I said, what are you doing? And I got between them, and then he hit me. And I just went down, and when I got up, he was still yelling. And so I went into the bedroom where I was staying, grabbed my gun, and I came back. Okay. And told him to put the gun down, or the bat down. And he came to me and was saying, what are you gonna do? like that and come to me with a bat. I said, put it down. He wouldn't. He came at me, so.
But the murky waters of the case were further muddied when Lori was charged in Arizona with conspiring to murder Charles. The incident was now seen not as a tragic altercation, but a premeditated act of violence. Lori and Chad's twisted religious beliefs, the manipulation, the control, and the willingness to kill in the name of faith painted a picture of a terrifying reality. Family bonds were shattered, trust was destroyed, and a community was left to grapple with a nightmare that seemed to have no end. With each murder, each betrayal, the darkness grew, revealing a story that was not just about death, but about a perversion of love, faith, and humanity. The world watched in horror as the twisted tale continued to unravel, exposing the very worst of what people can become when they lose their way. Investigation and arrest. As the shocking details of the murders and the tangled web of beliefs began to unravel, scrutiny of Lori VALLOW Daybell and Chad Daybell's activities and affiliations intensified. A complex investigation was launched that spanned multiple states, unearthing a series of chilling facts. The couple's connection to the mysterious entity known as Preparing a People, which aimed to ready people for the second coming of Jesus Christ, added an eerie layer to the unfolding mystery. Chad's novels, filled with recurring doomsday themes, and Lori's proclaimed visions and spiritual revelations became central elements in a case that was growing increasingly bizarre. In June 2020, when the children's remains were found on Chad's property, the couple's world began to crumble.
During the search of the property, investigators discovered what appeared to be unidentified human remains, and an autopsy will be conducted. Shortly after the remains were discovered, Chad Daybell was taken into custody and booked into the Fremont County Jail. There, Mr. Daybell will have his initial hearing tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. at the Fremont County Courthouse in a closed hearing.
Chad was arrested and charged with concealing evidence, a critical turning point that opened the floodgates to a series of legal proceedings. The charges mounted as Lori was also arrested and indicted in connection with the murders of her children, her previous husband Charles and Tammy Daybell. The tangled legal web became a labyrinth of charges, including murder, conspiracy, and obstruction. The legal proceedings were no less complex and demanding. Lori was initially declared not competent to stand trial, leading to restorative treatment. Years went by before she could finally stand trial, with the prosecution calling about 60 witnesses and presenting a case that painted a dark picture of a mother led astray by extreme beliefs. But defense lawyers pushed back, describing Lori as a loving mother and placing her elsewhere at the time of the killings. The courtroom became a battleground where two very different narratives clashed, leaving a jury and the world to grapple with a story so outlandish it was almost beyond belief. Through the twists and turns of legal battles, appeals, and strategic moves, the case against Lori VALLOW Daybell and Chad Daybell became a symbol of a justice system grappling with a case so extraordinary and chilling that it seemed to defy logic. As the trial unfolded, the world watched with bated breath, seeking answers to questions that were almost too terrifying to ask. How could a mother turn against her own children? How could love and faith turn so twisted and dark? The answers lay in the courtroom, where the relentless pursuit of justice met the incomprehensible reality of a tragedy that had shaken a community to its core. Trial and evidence. Prosecution. The trial of Lori VALLOW Daybell and Chad Daybell was a riveting spectacle, laden with emotional testimonies and shocking evidence. The prosecution built a case that was both meticulous and unsettling, calling about 60 witnesses to the stand, including former friends of Ms. VALLOW Daybell and a DNA analyst. Witnesses shed light on the couple's purported religious beliefs, with Melanie Gibb testifying that Ms. VALLOW Daybell believed evil spirits could turn people into zombies. Others spoke about the couple's teachings that were used to justify the heinous acts they were accused of committing. The evidence presented was equally damning. Details such as the discovery of the children's remains, a hair found stuck to duct tape matching JG's mother, and Mr. Daybell's changes to his life insurance policy a little over a month before Tammy Daybell's death painted a horrifying picture. Defense. On the other side of the courtroom, the defense fought to present Lori VALLOW Daybell in a different light. Describing her as a kind and loving mother who was interested in religion and biblical prophecies, they worked to create doubt about the state's case. However, the defense's strategy was risky. In a surprising move, they rested their case without calling any witnesses, simply telling the judge that they did not believe the state had proven its case. This decision left a void where Lori's voice might have been, relying on the argument that she was elsewhere during the murders and not responsible for the gruesome acts she was accused of. Judge's ruling. The trial culminated in a powerful ruling that resonated far beyond the walls of the courtroom. Judge Stephen Boyce of the 7th Judicial District handed down a sentence that allowed no room for leniency, condemning Lori VALLOW Daybell to serve her life terms concurrently. In his statement, Judge Boyce did not hold back, calling the murders the most unimaginable type and emphasizing the atrocity of a mother murdering her own children.
Murder is the most serious offense. And the most unimaginable type of murder is to have a mother murdering her own children. And that's exactly what you did. You were involved in and guilty of conspiring to murder another group of children's mother, Tammy Daybell, who had children of her own. And despite the jury convicting you with overwhelming evidence, you still sit here before the court today and said you didn't do it.
His words serve as a final judgment on a case that had rocked a community, a country, and a world struggling to understand how faith and family could become so tragically twisted. The trial's conclusion marked the end of a legal journey, but it also left haunting questions that linger still. Questions about how love and belief can turn deadly, about how a mother's care could become a child's nightmare, and about how a story that began with faith ended with a judgment that echoed with the chilling finality of justice served.
Based on all the relevant circumstances, including the evidence and recommendations presented in court today, it's the judgment of this court. Ms. Vallow, you'll be sentenced as follows. I'll first note I'm going to take up the counts out of order as I want to address the substantive murder sentences first. So on count 2, the charge you were convicted of, the first-degree murder of Tylee Ryan, you are sentenced to the custody of the State Board of Corrections to serve the maximum allowed sentence, a fixed determinate term of life imprisonment with no possibility of parole. On count 4, the charge of the first-degree murder of Joshua Jackson Vallow, you are sentenced to the custody of the State Board of Corrections to serve the maximum allowed sentence, a fixed determinate life imprisonment sentence with no possibility of parole.
Public reaction and media coverage. The gripping case of Lori Vallow Daybell and Chad Daybell seemed to permeate every corner of the public consciousness, ensnaring attention and sparking both fascination and horror. The mysterious blend of murder, family, and doomsday beliefs created an eerie allure that was impossible to ignore. Media outlets latched onto the story, captivated by its bizarre and unprecedented elements. Sensational headlines labeled Ms. Vallow Daybell as the doomsday mom, reflecting a morbid fascination with the couple's religious beliefs that supposedly drove them to kill. The airwaves were filled with reports, analyses, and conjectures, each new revelation fueling the fire of interest. But beyond the media frenzy lay a community torn apart by tragedy. In Rexburg, Idaho, where the children's remains were discovered, the pain was palpable. A memorial was erected for Tylee Ryan and J.J. Vallow, marking a place where grief could find a home. Flowers, toys, and heartfelt notes adorned the site, a silent testament to the loss that echoed in the hearts of neighbors, friends, and even strangers.
My daughter is 18 now, a year older than Tylee. I can't imagine what her last moments, I just can't imagine it. It's just too hard on me right now.
The case also sparked wider conversations and debates about the role of religious extremism, parental responsibility, and the justice system's handling of such complex and emotionally charged issues. As the trial unfolded and the verdict was reached, reactions were mixed. For some, justice was served, while for others, questions remained unanswered. But one thing was clear: the story of Lori and Chad Daybell had touched a nerve, laying bare society's deepest fears and unspoken thoughts. A tale of faith turned fanaticism, of love turned lethal, that will remain etched in the collective memory for years to come. The social and cultural significance of the Daybell case transcends the courtroom. It's a stark reminder of the power of belief and the fine line between devotion and delusion. It forces us to confront the question of how something as personal and profound as faith can lead to such unimaginable tragedy. As we reflect on the lives lost and the ongoing legal battle, let's not forget the haunting lessons this case imparts. In the pursuit of truth, justice, and understanding, we must remain vigilant, compassionate, and critical, ever mindful of the complex tapestry that makes up the human condition. Now, dear viewers, we turn the spotlight to you. What are your thoughts on this chilling case? How do you feel about the roles that religious beliefs and relationships played in these horrifying events? Share your insights, questions, and reflections in the comments below. If you found this exploration both compelling and thought-provoking, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth looks at some of the most captivating stories of our time. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. For those intrigued by this case, you may also be interested in our related content on other criminal cases with unexpected twists. Visit our channel to delve deeper into the human psyche, law, and the ever-shifting line between right and wrong. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep seeking the truth.